some animals, they have assignments for people, literally, I can give you one story also about a cat, and that was one of my favorite sessions ever. And this was a session, it was literally on the cusp of her death, right? And her name was Gypsy. And Gypsy was like I think she was 20 or 21. And Gypsy, her person had inherited her. So she was a little girl when Gypsy was alive, and her grandmother had her. And then eventually Gypsy ended up with her person. And she did, I think she did a few sessions, and Gypsy was like really frail. And when you have a 21-year-old cat, that is not all that surprising, right? And Gypsy's job assignments for a person happened right before she died, right? And then in Gypsy's case, we were talking about the timing of euthanasia. We had a session one evening and we talked about what would be the most peaceful situation. And then Gypsy declined so drastically in the middle of the night that they called a euthanasia vet in the middle of the night. So Gypsy's euthanasia happened sooner than her person had planned. Like, they had planned it like for 2 days later because they wanted family around. But then Gypsy like went down like a rocket, or not like a rocket, rockets go up, but she went down really hard and they euthanized her in the night following our session. The point being is that Gypsy was really orchestrating what she wanted, right? And her person wanted to know, is Gypsy okay with euthanasia? Yes. Is Gypsy okay with this? Is Gypsy okay with that? Yes, 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 and yes. And then, and I did not know this person, as in, I think she was an herbalist, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, she worked with herbs. I remember that. We met at an event where it was about whatever, holistic, and she did herbs, right? And then Gypsy goes like, I have a job assignment for you. I was like, uh-oh. She goes, I want you to draw me. I want you to create a book with drawings, not photographs. She was very specific. I'm like, okay, I'm just the messenger, right? I want you to draw me, and I want you to, and I make like a little coffee table book or like a drawing album, not a photo album, and show it to children. Mind you, this person was a child when she met this cat, right?
Mm.
I hear her gasp on the other end. We were on the phone, and I'm like, oh gosh, what am I doing? I don't know this person. Who wants to draw, right? And then she goes like, oh my gosh. And Gypsy says, I want a portrait, not just like, I'm like, yeah, how's that gonna go? And her person started to gasp and said, you have no idea. I said, no, tell me. She says, I used to be a graphic designer. And she sends me a photo of Gypsy. And that same night, and this was like hours before Gypsy actually was euthanized, she pencil draws this absolutely beautiful portrait based on the photograph. And this is Gypsy was very specific, not painting, drawing, a portrait, la 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 la. And I hear her person gasp and say, nobody, I don't talk about what I did before I was an herbalist, right? Who can make this up? I
Yeah, no, you can't.
no, I couldn't. And this is something that sometimes, this is an example that happened right before Gypsy's passing, meaning Gypsy knew what she was doing, right? And often I get these kind of downloads after an animal has died. It's not always, oh, I'm your spirit guide, but they say, okay, what is my legacy? How can you pay it forward? All of the good things that happened, right? So
Mm.
this is just one of my favorite stories. I have many favorite stories, but that
I
certainly
love that.
out because it was so specific. And I'm going like, oh my gosh, what is she gonna think if I tell her this? And most people say, I don't know how to draw. And she goes like, you have no idea. I used to be a graphic designer. And she sat down and was drawing her cat. And then her cat was euthanized. It was amazing, you know?